friends, it's Thursday, it's 8 p.m. It is the Thursday show. Thank you so much for joining us once again for your weekly dose of online sertraline. As ever, don't forget to comment in the comments section so that we know that you are there, and any questions that you want to ask our guests. As ever, this show is free to watch, but it's not free to make. So if you do want to donate, that is it right there along the bottom. Please do be generous, because you know what? The news has been generous to us this week. There's a lot of green shoots of optimism. I mean, for example, only today there was a report released that said that mixing different vaccines is okay. So they're looking at mixing these vaccines like a cocktail. So you could have Screw Pfizer, Novaxtini, Moderna Colada. And if you market it like that, I think a lot of people will be jumping the queue to get signed up. And that's right, because they're increasing these vaccines at an incredible rate. And a lot of people don't know the reason why. A lot of people think it's because of lockdown, it's because of the economy. It's absolutely not. It's because this time last year, the government did a U-turn on the whole 5G network, and all of these vaccines are acting as a Wi-Fi hotspot. We've currently got over 10 million people acting as walking Wi-Fi hotspots, and we're looking to get a lot more over the next couple of months. Because the thing is, let's all be honest, COVID has affected everyone. Put it this way, even Jeff Bezos is now unemployed. Well, to make sense of this, it's not just my show, it is our show. And joining me tonight, as ever, are our wonderful co-presenters. Introducing first, the man who puts the fun into funny. It's the wonderful Jay Sodagar.
Yes, there you go.
That
there
way.
you go.
I always get it.
It's that way. It's that way.
No, it's that
way.
Oh, every
week. There you go. Bless you. How are you, Dave?
I'm very good, thank you. And thank you very much to Kirsty Shields, who's watching all the way in Melbourne, and also Nicole Cannon. It's beautiful, isn't it? How are you? You seem very like you've got a lot of pep.
Yes, I have pep. I've been reading the news, obviously, and this whole thing about like the World Health Organization trying to discover the origins of COVID and all the conspiracy theories that kind of come up with it. It just is nonsense. Like way back when the lockdown first started, the whole thing started off with, oh yeah, some guy licked a bat in Wuhan and now 1 million people are dead. How on earth is that even a thing? It's like, to be perfectly honest, the whole thing about that whole conspiracy theory that gets me is the actual place, Wuhan. Previous to 2019, I had never heard of Wuhan. It was not a popular tourist destination. We were going to go to Disneyland earlier last year. No, at one point did we look at the holiday brochure and go, should you just go to Wuhan? Everyone else seems to be going there, coming back from it, bringing the COVID-19 and all this kind of nonsense. And you were talking earlier about 5G. 5G, yeah. All these, that whole conspiracy theory that like 5G is the thing that spreads coronavirus. I tell you what does spread coronavirus is the people who believe that 5G spreads coronavirus, and then they go running out in massive groups spreading that shit. That's what happens. But I was sitting there thinking, I want to start my own conspiracy theory about COVID. Right? I want to start my own.
Let's do this
here tonight on the Thursday show. Right? I want everyone watching, listening, all three of you, to share this on your social media. All right? I believe George Lucas, right, the guy who wrote Star Wars, he started the coronavirus. Yeah, and do you know why? Because he loves a franchise. The guy loves a fucking franchise. He's got like 12 Star Wars films and 2 remakes and a series on Disney Plus. If anybody had ever started coronavirus, it was that guy. He does like a special THX version of it, I'm sure of it. There you go.
Modernalorian.
I love it when you improvise on your puns there, Dave. I love it.
I love a pun. I love that. I think that's, well, you know what? If you want a conspiracy theory, let's ask Vlad about this, because you're right. The World Health Organization has come under fire because they're looking as a scapegoat, and people have said, oh, no, they're not. They're looking to help. Even Baldy's saying that Wuhan will be all touristy now. Here's the thing that annoys me, Baldy 3, is that this time last year, I wouldn't have cared. Now I want to eat pangolin. I'm vegan, but I've heard so much about it. It's got to be fucking tasty, hasn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I reckon it's good with chips. It's good with chips. Bat and chips. That's it. I can imagine that at a chip shop. Excuse me, can I have bat and chips, please?
Well, you know what? It is not only us. I want to ask him what his conspiracy theory is going to be. So let's bring to the stage it's not stage, to the screen, our lovely floating head who floats no more. It's Vladimir McTavish!
Good evening. Yes, good evening. I tell you who's spreading coronavirus. Boris Johnson. Fucking effective at it. In fact, last week we were talking, because last week was the day that Boris came to Scotland to great public acclaim, as we all know. It turns out he visited a vaccine factory, right? A factory making vaccines to stop the virus, in the full and thorough knowledge that there'd been a coronavirus outbreak at that factory 2 days before, involving 14 people. So a man whose job is to protect the country from this virus is in fact a super spreader. What concerned me most was that he actually might have caught it himself. Yeah. Unlike last time when he pretended to have it. Back in April, he pretended to have the virus. I mean, that was just such a shit excuse, wasn't it? Oh God, I've really fucked the country up. I'm going to phone in sick for 2 weeks and pretend I'm in intensive care. Nobody. I mean, on top of that, but you think, what are the symptoms of coronavirus? Sweaty, out of breath, and lost all sense of taste. He's got those all the bloody time.
He embodies coronavirus.
And not like that. Now he has the blood of national hero Captain Tom in his hands. There you go. Because we said goodbye to Captain Tom this week.
Bless him.
His career was just taking off. I was waiting for the follow-up single. No, I mean, Captain Tom. What? He was an inspiration, Captain Tom, wasn't he? I mean, if you remember back to 4 years ago when Boris Johnson said Brexit would lead to an extra £350 million a day for the NHS. What he didn't tell us was that money was going to be raised by an old age pensioner walking around his fucking garden 100 times. No, I was inspired by Captain Tom. I certainly was. And following on from his lead, I walked to the end of my street and back. In the early days of lockdown, from about end of March through to May, June, I walked to the corner of my street and back every single day. And in that time, I raised a hell of a lot of money for my local off license. There you go. We clapped for Captain Tom yesterday, and it was right to do so. However, given how serious this whole thing's become, I think we've reached the stage we should no longer be clapping for the heroes. We should actually be giving it out to the villains in all this piece. So I think every Thursday at 9 o'clock, which is convenient because it's the end of the show, everyone should take to the streets and heckle Hancock, Pelter Patel, give it to Gove, and boo Boris. National booing Boris at 9 o'clock every night.
When did that become Piers Morgan?
Yeah, I'm Piers. Well, Piers Morgan is the only opposition. He got roundly abused all last week when he was up in Scotland. Trouble is, he didn't know what people were saying to him, and you can understand that, because a lot of people from down south don't really understand English as we speak it properly in this country. No, we speak a totally different version of English language up here in Scotland. And if you are unfamiliar with that, we've got a brief little example of it here in this video that's going to give us an insight into how the English language is spoken.
Fucking Sweden, fucking bastard, fucking bollocks, fucking stupid prick. Fucking shit, fuck's sake, fucking shit, fucking pissing about with you in a van all fucking day. Fuck off, man. Fucking shit, fucking fuck's sake, fucking, for fuck's sake, Edinburgh. Fucking Jesus, man. Not take it up my arse down here. Fuck Glasgow, it's even worse, man. Cunt, fuck nose, fucking Edinburgh, fucking shit, fucking about, fucking hell, fucking.
God, the hairy bikers are a lot more angry now they've lost weight, aren't they? You know?
That's obviously the broadcast version with the swearing taken out. No, we're quite creative with swearing in this country. I once overheard a conversation in Dundee where one guy called another guy a cunty arsed fuckwank, which that is marvelous. Just join every swear word you know together, just truncate it all. Yeah. So
please leave us a comment if you're watching with your kids tonight, and as you do, then share it on Facebook.
Come on.
If any children want to learn some new words, the Thursday Show is the place to do it. And while you're there, donate, because this is free to watch. It's not free to make. We've had to buy Vlad a new swearing dictionary every single week. But like all of you people know, it is not just us. We are joined by some wonderful guests, the cream of the comedy crop. I'm very chuffed to introduce our first guest. She is the winner of the Best Newcomer at last year's Scottish Comedy Award. You might have heard her on Radio 4, but you know what? You're just about to hear her now on the Thursday Show. Let's have a look at a clip of her in action.
Seem happy much. I start off, I'm just quite an obsessive person. That's something I should get out of the way. I just need to tell you, I'm still obsessed with Blue Planet. And that ship has sailed, right? I have. I loved it. Did people watch Blue Planet? David Attenborough's Blue Planet? Yes, right. I loved it, mainly for one moment, right? There's this one scene where this little ladyfish was so bored of all the manfish trying to have sex with her all the time. She just went off into a cave one day, turned into a manfish, and re-emerged. All the other fish in the ocean just went, I mean, that's fair. So I realised fish have more progressive trans rights than America. So we've got an American audience. That sounded like an American audience. I was genuinely, it changed my life. Blue Planet, loved it. I got obsessed with fish. I decided they were better than humans. I got one of my human friends to take me to the local aquarium. Who's local? Yeah. Okay. Anyone been to Deep Sea World in Perth? Yeah. See, that's appropriately despondent. It's so bad. Don't go. But its USP, right, is that it's got the longest shark tunnel in Europe. That's why I was going. It's got the longest. It's so long, in fact, you don't even walk around it. Right? It's this big loop. You get on a moving floor, and it takes you around. Like baggage reclaim, right? I got halfway around, had an anxiety attack. There's a little voice in my head went, Amy, what if you found yourself in a dystopian future? And the opposite of no sushi has happened.
It's a real pleasure to welcome to the show the marvellous Amy Matthews.
Hello, how are we doing, guys?
Hey, I'm good. It is so lovely to see you, firstly. But
So
secondly, we just get asked for these videos to get sent in so we can all just remember how marvellous it was when we could actually do gigs with an audience.
I know, and it's, oh my goodness, it feels so alien. I feel like when you watch anything on TV now as well, and there's like groups of people, it makes you feel a bit like, antsy watching it. It's so weird.
Yeah, and also particularly because your clip there from the monkey barrel is somewhere that you and I would play often. You particularly would, and it's weird. It's like seeing home when you've been stuck in a desert island for a year.
It really honestly is. Like it's so weird to see. And yeah, I was a whole I had a full diary back then. That's different. I was blonde. I now look like Snape has seen better days. So a lot's changed since then. You got competition for haircuts now, Vlad.
Well, mine's getting a bit out of hand. I did threaten last week that I might cut my hair on the show.
Do it. You must.
I might do it next week. It could be one of those ones, just a threat. He's not going to do it. I know.
It's fantastic.
You're done now, yes. And of course, what's happened to you? And fellow Scottish Comedy Award winner, was that 2019?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was 2019. Which feels like about 6 years ago now. In
yes, that's when I got my Lifetime Achievement Award, or people trying to tell me I should give up.
I think the greatest achievement in comedy, Vlad, is that your own birthday party won an event award.
It won. Yeah, I think that says everything about the Scottish comedy.
So cool. That's so cool.
Yes, but I think that video we just saw might have shined a bit with you when you first moved to Scotland, because you were a student in Edinburgh, weren't you?
I was. I moved up here to study my master's and stayed like all the other English people in Edinburgh. I put my roots down. Sorry, guys. And yeah, it's. I literally haven't left since. It's been. Got myself a Scottish boyfriend, so it looks like that's it's going reasonably well. We've made it through a lockdown together, so it can't be too bad. It's funny when I was watching that clip that you just put on about a Scottish flavour on the English language. I like to summarise my relationship best because he's also a comedian, Stuart McPherson, and we've got very different energies, as you all know, Vlad. And he's the best. I think the best way of encapsulating that, shall we say, is that I got a new perfume once, and I feel like, you know, my previous boyfriends who were all English would have said something like, "You smell nice." And my current Scottish boyfriend opted for "You citrus fuck." So, you know, different vibes. But it's been hard being with a Scotsman during COVID as well, because I don't know if you or any of your friends have ever been asked to explain pain beyond the word sore. Because every Scottish man I've ever asked, like, oh, you know, if he's ill, oh, how, you know, well, what is it? What pain are you feeling? It's just sore. So I have to give him like multiple choice options. You know, is it a stabbing pain? Is it like a tickly cough? To which he replied, "No need to get all Russell Brand about it." So, so I've given up trying.
So you not only have you moved in with the better half or other half, you've moved cities, haven't you? You've moved across.
It was lots of big changes during lockdown. Yeah, we not only moved in together during lockdown, but also I moved to Glasgow. I've been a sort of Edinburgh bod my time in Scotland, and it's been really, really nice. But I think COVID itself has changed Glasgow. Right, my first ever time in Glasgow.
Right.
I know I've already upset people by pronouncing it Glasgow, but I've got to run with it now. So basically, my first ever time in Glasgow, I was getting a mega bus in the middle of the night, and it was just me and one other guy who looked sort of like Fagin from Oliver. Right. And he had this rucksack, and he reached into this rucksack. I was a bit nervous, and he pulled out a family pack of Maltesers. He proceeded to eat the whole thing whilst maintaining eye contact with me. And then he realised they were all gone and punched a wall. And I thought, I love this city. It's everything I've heard about. And during lockdown, genuinely, I think probably about 4 weeks in, I went to the Botanic Gardens and there was just a man with a recorder in the middle, just playing sort of recorder music. And I was like, what has this done to Glasgow? What has happened? But it's great. I actually love living there so much. I live with Stu's really lucked out because he lives with his girlfriend and his 2 best friends, which is the golden ticket as far as he's concerned. But it does mean sort of being in a flat share still. And I think flat shares are very difficult to explain to the generation older than me, because like I had an instance when my mom came round to see a new flat that I'd been, and there were like probably 5 kettles, but mine had broken. And it's very difficult to explain that using any of the other 5 will cause political unrest in your place of, residence.
Yeah.
So we're still running with that. But I mean, they've got a pool table. It's a real kind of, it's a proper boys flat, but I'm coping. I'm coping.
Well, yeah, Glasgow. Because I grew up in Glasgow. It's a great city. What I love about Glasgow is anything can happen, can't it? You just random shit that you wouldn't expect anywhere else. Like a total stranger to come up to you at a bus stop and ask you if you want fish. Just come in. Do you want fish? Thank you.
I just love it. It's so great. It's so great. But no, I've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed all the changes. It's nice to have, particularly where it does feel very Groundhog Day. It's nice just to have like a new 4 walls to stare at. We've had it's been lots of big steps in our relationship. I even got on his Spotify plan this week. Some girls get diamonds. I've got a password that means I get to track how much Arctic Monkeys he's listening to. So who's the real winner?
Right.
That's nice.
But not just moved in with each other, but as you said, Stuart McPherson, who again, I think, isn't he a Scottish Comedy Award winner?
Yeah, he was.
Right. Yeah,
was it the year before me?
He won. Oh, right.
Yeah, I think so. I think he won the year before me. So he's doing all right. It's funny being
it's a really kind of roundabout form of Tinder, the Scottish Comedy Awards.
It's a very extreme method to start dating, isn't it? Bond over an award you both got. But no, it's been really nice. It's obviously there's always I think it can go either way, comedian couples. I think it can be a very intense environment, or we're both pretty easygoing, so it's always been quite nice. But it's funny because obviously we both were very much in the same boat overnight. And it's really interesting how obviously we both got so much time on our hands now, and you just have to get used to like not speaking to each other for a few days. You've not got much to talk about, and then one of you will come in and be like, oh, do you want to hear my idea for an indie film? And you've got to be like, boy do I. And that's basically all we've got to talk about now.
Well, you see, that's the thing, isn't it? Because previously, like this time last year, you'd be like catching up whenever you get time to be together, because any one of you be in another city, one of you be on the road, one of you be on stage, and then now, you're both doing
very
fuck
much
all.
So. Yeah, and not only fuck all, but fuck all when there's like, it's obviously we have just moved in together in the grand scheme of things, so it's been probably the most intense living situation you could possibly enter into as a couple. But I think we've survived. I've gotten into snooker. That's one of my coping mechanisms.
Right.
It was very much a kind of, if I don't get into this is going to cause a problem, because I was a bit of a sort of snooker widow for a while. So that's been my takeaway from lockdown, is I've gained a boyfriend, housemate, and an interest in snooker. Some people learnt languages.
I learned how to make bread.
Who's got the time?
I have now.
Frankly, everyone. I don't have the inclination.
But yeah, because and I think what a lot of the general public don't realise is how much of a struggle it's been financially for us people in comedy and in the arts in general during the last 10 months.
No, definitely. I think it's just, I don't know, it's nice as well when you've got the sort of camaraderie of it. And then when you're sort of sitting in bed and you're faced with the reality of it, it's less fun. But I think it's nice the way people have tried, like doing this, and the way it's given. There's been so much innovation during all of it, which has been so nice. And I don't know, did you do any car park gigs?
I didn't. No.
Lucky you. So I did. Oh my god! Yeah, you go.
I heard how awful they were and didn't do one.
Well, that's sensible, because I heard how awful they were and thought, I'll give it a bash. And it was my favourite one, for probably the wrong reasons, was there was one in Edinburgh Zoo's car park, and it was a drive-in, and we were the unlisted warm-up for a Back to the Future screening. So that was interesting. We turned up and we said, is it going to be silent, or are we going to get some response with like people using like hooters to replace laughter? So we're like, okay, well, that'll be fine. And then we got there and they're like, oh, by the way, everyone's been briefed. They're not allowed to use their horns because it disturbs the chimpanzees. And, you just sort of, that was a real kind of assess your life choices moment for me.
Was that the one? Because I think a mutual friend of ours did a similar gig, and it might have been the same gig where the audience was all mainly kids.
Yeah, there were a lot of kids. Well, there were a lot of kids in the front section.
Right.
So again, I mean, there's no such thing as a front row in those gigs, but the closest you've got is probably the Corsa that's in front of you. And yeah, I think a couple of comics I was on with and mutual friends of ours aren't used to talking to children.
Well, was it the one that Rick Mollen did?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And Rick's a fantastic comedian. He's a brilliant comedian.
I know.
I saw the Amy at Monkey Barrel. Rick's the regular weekend host at Monkey Barrel. And Rick's two great strengths as a comic are talking to the audience and
fearlessly talking to the audience.
And outrageous filth. And because he told me the story, he said, I've never known 10 minutes drag by so long, because he had an audience he couldn't talk to, full of kids, that he couldn't do his normal material.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, God bless him, because I mean, I think he did, he said, does anyone have any like interesting jobs? And you've got like a 6-year-old leaning out the window. I'm milk monitor.
See, I always kind of, and I might be old-fashioned here, Amy, but I always think it's better if the audience is in the same postcode as you.
That's interesting. Really?
Yeah.
You'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it was probably, I mean, I don't know, 100 and something cars. It was a lot. It was this huge, expansive thing. It was just, it's one of those things you're like, I'm so glad I did it. I did another one as well that was under a flight path. It's quite weird being heckled by a Boeing 747. But yeah, it's the way people have innovated. It's all so unusual, and you're grateful, probably more in hindsight, for the experiences. But when they're happening, you just think, why can I be passionate about spreadsheets?
Well, that is the great thing about this business, isn't it? In fact, our guest last week, Gareth Much, we were chatting about really appalling gigs we'd done. And the great thing about this as a way of earning a living is, right, you have a really shit time at times, and we all do. But at the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, this will be an anecdote.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, again, it's nice when you've got each other. If especially if it's a green room of comics that you really love and get on with and stuff. It's funny though, with home gigs, I mean, if they're terrible, it's quite, in many ways, it's what you dreamt of before. You can just shut a laptop and get into bed. You're only ever like five seconds away from being smart.
It's also, if it's really going badly, I don't know if you've ever had this in the back of your mind. You think, God, if it's really going badly, I can just pretend that my Wi-Fi's dropped.
I can literally disappear. Yeah. So, guys, if my camera suddenly cuts out, that's unrelated. Yeah. Exactly.
I know this is maybe a daft question to ask, given that I probably know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What are your plans for 2021? Do you have much kind of lined up? Are you? Because I think the last time we actually were in the same place was at the Gilded Balloon. Well, it was at the TV building where the Gilded Balloon had an end of Fringe party for last year's Fringe that never happened, but they decided to have a rap party anyway, and you and Stuart were there, and me and Christy, my wife, and a few other people. So do you have plans to do 2021 Fringe? I'm guessing you're hoping to.
I mean, if it's happening, yeah, of course. What's really thrown a spanner in the works is I was planning to do my debut hour this year coming, 2021. And it will really, for anyone, by the way, who's like, why does it matter if it's a debut hour? I feel like because comics often assume that like people know that that's a thing, so I try and make sure I explain it. But after like a few Fringes, a comedian doing their first hour show is kind of, it's almost like releasing your first album, you know. It's like your statement onto the scene. You get a lot of press come, you get a lot of attention, really, like industry attention for doing it. So I was gonna do my debut hour this year coming, and it's just gonna be about seeing what that looks like now, because you know, I had such a clear idea of where it would be, what it would look like, and you know, how much of that is going to be feasible in the climate. We don't even know what the Fringe will look like, if it will be online, if it will be in person, what venues will still be open. You know, we just don't know. So I'm going to really try and do something, but I'm just going to try and not plan this as a serial planner and very anal organizer. This last year has taught me not to plan, and that's been a valuable skill to have. So I'm just gonna sort of do as much as I can for now. But yeah, I'll try to, and in the meantime, just do as much as what pops up. Really, this has been lovely. So nice to be involved.
We enjoy this, and so do the 20 people who watch.
Go you guys! How lovely.
We've got a hardcore loyal fan base that come in every week, and we would be nowhere at all without them. They're absolutely brilliant. Thank you all very much. Listen, Amy, stick around because we're going to do some games and stuff later on. It's been a real joy having you on, and we must have you back because we've done this once before. Must have you back with Stuart, and we'll do Mr. and Mrs. Head Off against each other.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Absolutely.
Lovely. Thanks again, Amy Matthews, and let's welcome back Dave Chawner. Cheers, Amy.
Brilliant stuff. I just having a wine here. What a lovely interview. What a great act. And thank you. I absolutely agree with everything that you said there, Vlad. Thank you to everyone that's watching. We would be nothing here without you, especially Judith Wardle, Baldy 3. We've also got, of course, Kirsty Shields, Gary Manhine. Thank you to everyone that has been joining us this week. Don't forget, it's not too late to donate. You can do that right at the bottom of the screen there. Thank you very much, Judith. Now we're going to move on to our next act. A lovely man with an incredible story. I don't want to ruin this one, but I'm very interested to see what happens. Let's give this a little bit of context.
It's been cut with worse, let's be honest, you know, glass, dog shit, I use organic soap, there's a proper little market industry now. So that's that. And then the thing to cap it all off was during lockdown, I developed hemorrhoids. Give me a cheer if you actually don't, I don't want to fucking know. It's gone. Do you know, you're enjoying the car stuff more than my hard work scans. Oh yeah, it's awful. If someone had said to me in your 20s, Ben, enjoy your 20s and your 30s, because when you get to your 40s, you have to stick your finger up your arse every day. I mean, it's not without its pleasures. I don't know why I looked at you then, sir. That's it. Well, my cream of choice is Anusol. I don't know if you use that. You know, Journaloids is the other one. You know, you make it's like Coke, Pepsi. You make a decision, but it's very calming. It's very calming. Honestly, just when you put it on, they could throw it into a hostage situation, and everything would just diffuse. How did you get them off the roof? Well, we're just covered him in Anusol, to be honest. But that didn't work. So I had to have a virtual doctor's appointment. Can't go that to the virtual doctor. Now, my first worry was, how the fuck am I going to get it up to the webcam the end, I put my laptop on the floor, and that was perfect. Turns out they didn't want to see it. What worried me the most was it unlocked my facial recognition on my laptop.
This brings me a lot of joy and pleasure. He's a very good friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years. So let's do this. Please give it up for my good friend, the one, the only, Mr. Ben Harrington.
Hello. Isn't it awful?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, mate. But I was laughing at my own jokes, which is a sign that lockdown is not going well. I'm sitting there going, "Oh, that guy's." Oh, no, that's me. So yeah, that is quite strange. I was laughing at my own jokes, but all true. That is all true.
No, absolutely. Now, I want to broach this question, and it's a very interesting thing. I kind of know, but I want you to sort of like tell me exactly what happened. How following on from this hemorrhoid story, what actually happened during lockdown? Go on.
Well, I thought I had hemorrhoids, right? Because it was, and I had this weird thing appear, and I'm talking about my arse. Folks, if you just tuned in, my mum's watching. I'm talking about my arse live in the world, so anyone can. So
it's a very high class show. It's a very high class show.
They do say if you have an external pile, you should try and push it back up, which I did. It wasn't an external pile, so it's kind of like trying to put a couple of broad beans up there. But anyway, so yeah, it actually. I had to go and have a scan and visit a hospital and have a procedure, but it was actually it sounds weird because it's kind of like, is there such a thing? But it was like a mild version of cancer, right? Which is fucking frightening. But I'm all right now. It's all fine. And it's given me, as the guys were saying earlier, it's given me enough material for an Edinburgh show. So when I was thinking, will I survive? Or will I do Edinburgh next year? It was kind of like that thing, which is it's an awful thing to think. But that's how we're fucking wired. It's like how we're wired. This is so bad. Might get in there. But hang on a second, you know. So
it's at least 10 minutes of new material, certainly.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
I mean, COVID-19 is like the least of your worries at that point. If you got coronavirus, like, yeah, I survived this thing as well. Fucking hell.
Well, I think it's like, I mean, I'm 42, and I'm finding now things with my body are beginning to just go that weren't a problem before, and things are like I've got a very dry head. My head is. I feel it because you're like me, are just beginning to lose your hair, and I find that like when I come out the shower, I have to moisturise about 10 minutes just to get I'm like a tortoise on one of David Attenborough's shows, trying to get the water back in, the moisture. I might as well like dip it into a bucket of E45. It's horrendous. That's the thing. That was never a thing before. That's the thing now. So yeah, it's just like when I was in my 20s. If I was going to go out of an evening, I'd like have a shower and go. Whereas now I've got this preparation routine. Which is like, it's like preparing one of Nigella's Christmas turkeys. It takes that long, you know. I've got to baste it. I need to add all these herbs in there, and it's just awful. Yeah.
This is what getting old is all about. This is what getting old is all about.
I'm only 42. I mean, it's going to get worse. If I ever get to Captain Tom's age, what the fuck is going to happen to me? I'm just going to be.
Well, apparently you don't even get the jab and you just die. Apparently,
he's
in that vulnerable territory that he got missed.
He should have been. I mean, what was that woman, Margaret, who had it first?
Yeah. I mean, she was younger than he was, so they just missed some guy. Obviously, never mind. Been on TV and everything, raised millions.
And Hancock did the old fake tear, didn't he? Eh? Fucking, that was bollocks. That was. There's more moisture in Prince Andrew's armpits than there is in his tears. That was the worst. I mean, I hope they haven't. When they did it, I was thinking, I hope they haven't fucking decided on the Oscars yet. because that's gotta be up there. It's awful. Have you never seen someone cry before? You know, it's got kids as well. Like, kids cry all the time. That's what they're wired to do. And it's what they're doing there. They're crying, Matt. Oh no, I've never seen that before. I'm off to work. Well,
this is the thing. It's like I did acting classes many years ago, and the idea of a fake tear apparently is where your facial expression doesn't actually change. But if you ever actually watch someone start to cry, even a child, when they start crying, their whole face changes, scrunches up, and then a tear squeezed out. Matt didn't do any of that stuff. He just literally went, "Yes, that was very scary, wasn't it?"
We did a horrible thing at school where you could see someone's bottom lip going, and we'd all go, "Turn on the taps." I paint it now as some schoolboy fun, but it was bullying basically.
Yeah.
No one ever. I don't know what school he went to that never happened. But
now, speaking of bullying, right? You're very similar to me. You've got kids, but you have 3 kids. Is that correct? 3 kids. Wow.
But I know.
Old
line everyone gives it.
That's the old line every middle-aged bald man tries to kind of
be clear. When people say that, I don't want a fucking another one. 3 is more. I don't want some dude turning up in, you know. There's a. I know you asked the question. I'm going to just tell you this. There's a bloke I know who's been donating to a sperm bank, right? And he posted something on Instagram today to say
homeschooling all of them.
Well, this is it. Imagine if I don't want my daughter in 15. Hi, Dad. Fuck off. You know, that'd be awful.
How have you found homeschooling?
Well, I'm quite lucky. My wife's a teacher, so my kids do go in.
You cheater. That's a cheat.
Well, yeah. The kids do go in. So my eldest son goes in actually all the time because they're kind of slacking the rules a little bit, which meant more kids can go in. But my daughter, my middle daughter, who's just turned 10, she was doing 2 or 3 days a week, and then at home for us. On the first day, my wife, I think, had taken my youngest daughter to preschool. She wasn't there, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get involved here. I've got a degree, I'm a clever guy. I'm going to all over this. So I went in. She was doing maths, and it was one of these match the fraction with this number sort of thing. So I just it's a piss. So I just said, well, that one needs to go there. I practically did it for her and left it. And about 3 hours later, I get a knock on my study door. And it's my daughter. I said, Dad, you got the maths wrong. And because I've got a big ego, rather than going, don't be so ridiculous. Rather than going, oh, that's fine. I went, don't be so ridiculous. So I then went out and said, so I spent the first day of homeschooling with my wife explaining to me how these things were. And I swear, it wasn't, I think I got it. I think she just put the arrows in the wrong place. But I swear, I mean, some of that stuff, like, what was that thing? There's something that's doing the rounds on social media, a preemptive clause or something in English. I don't know.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no. This is one of the things, is like when I was at school, I don't remember learning any of these fancy terms of anything. And I turned all right.
Well, I mean, look at you now. I mean, look at me.
Exactly.
And backdrop and you know.
Exactly. A lot of people say that I'm like a very negative, like a photographic negative of Vladimir McTavish. So I see it all completely.
I'm a twin, right? So that line of, oh, we didn't do that at school never works. My twin is super bright. So I'd say, oh, yeah, we didn't do that at school. My twin would go, yes, we did. Did we? Yeah. We did it on lesson number 4. Oh, for fuck's sake. Making out that my teachers were bad. No, they weren't. They were fine. You just couldn't be asked. Well, actually, sorry, I know you meant to be.
No. This is one of the things. This is one of the things. I'm so glad that you're one of the guests, because I've known you for a fair while. How long have you been doing comedy for now? You've been doing comedy for.
Well, I started in 2012 or something.
Yeah.
And I was into dizzy heights of occasionally getting paid. But no, I stopped for 5 or 6 years. I ran a club in London, and then I started my own business, and it was like young kids comedy. Can I do both? And I chose the kids in front of the comedy. And about 5 years later, I thought, why the fuck did I do that? So I
comedy. But this is one of the reasons why I'm so glad that you came to see the show. Is that despite having a cancer and so on and so forth, you are, look at you, you're one of the most positive people around, and it's genuinely an inspiration for you. I'm looking forward to the Edinburgh show you're going to write for this as well.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we're all wondering, will it happen? But I think now the vaccine rollout's going so well. If you just tuned in, here is the news. That it's looking more positive. So I hope there can be some, because, oh God, you know, it really makes all the shit that's happened. It really makes you realise how important what we do. And I've got another job. You know, this doesn't pay the bill. I wouldn't be able to afford this level of drama. But you kind of realise that. It's so the arts is often not, it's never an afterthought, because it surrounds us all the time with music and you know, things you see on TV and acting and of course comedy. But when it's gone, it's like fucking hell. And live events, even when, and we've all done bad comedy shows or whatever, but even then, when people are leaving the room, they've always had a great time. And you know, when it's good, it's amazing. And I just think I'm going to misquote Churchill, and I'm not even sure he did actually say it, but someone was on about cutting the arts budget to fund the war, and he said, what are we fighting for? And it's true. It's so true. You know,
I miss live comedy. I say this every single week. Anyone who's ever kind of watched this show and been to live comedy understands. Any fan of comedy understands that electric atmosphere that's in a comedy club that we feed off of, and it's genuinely one of the most beautiful environments. It's an addiction to an audience as much as it is to us, and this is so alien. For the last 10 months, we've literally had nothing. But I'm so glad.
We'll appreciate it more than, won't we? I think we'll sort of, you know, Vlad and Amy were saying about car park gigs. You know, I would happily go. I mean, I'm almost tempted to go and stand in my local NCP and see if anyone will listen. It's got to that. I did a gig once for a caravan society, right? Okay, and I went to. It was an outdoor. It was sort of indoor, but actually outdoor. They just had a big marquee, and I went there and I said, when are you putting the chairs out? And they said, what do you mean? The front row was literally, it was like in a different postcode. The front row, I couldn't fucking see them. It was that bad. And I was like, you know, how the hell? But I would choose that now over, not over this, because this is good, but over not doing it. Because it's live performance.
This is one thing. I did one car park gig, and it was very odd, because sort of like, beep your horn if you're in a couple, flash your lights if you're single. Then that led me to sit there and go, well, what are you doing with the other hand? They're just doing this. It was, and there were kids there as well. And I only realised afterwards, I was like, oh, they're showing Grease, but there are kids going on in here.
I'm learning some new words. Yeah, and I think like the immediacy of a laugh, which is a natural reaction, is great. But if you've got to go beat your horns, Darren, beat the horn. I haven't got the ignition on. Turn the. We don't want to start it. Turn on. The lights have gone on. Where's the horn? Was, you know, all that kind of shit. The moment's passed. But
listen, stick around. Also, no, absolutely. No, I was. We could talk for hours. Genuinely, we could talk for hours and hours and hours about comedy. Stick around. You've got your beer to hand. I've stopped drinking since the New Year's Eve show.
I've taken on your load.
I was fucked. Yes, but yes, no, we've got the next knock. Stick around. We've got more fun and games to do. So let's do this. So let's bring back the youngster himself and my negative, Vlad, Amy, and Dave. There you go.
Yeah.
Look at this, how lovely. Well, thank you very much for that, my friend, and thank you everyone who has been commenting. Just having a look on the comments, I think Judith Wardle has replied 10 or 20,000 times. So thank you so much to you, my sweet. It's lovely to see you there. Don't forget to keep on commenting, keep on sharing, keep on liking. We want to spread the word loud and proud, because we now move on to my favorite part of the show. It's Desert Island Dicks. Da, 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 da. There's a penis, there's a penis. Right, the idea of this is we ask our two wonderful guests if you could remove someone from society, placing them on an island where they would be stranded for the rest of eternity. Who would you choose? Don't worry, this is not a Rorschach test, nothing. No answer is a bad answer unless it's Captain Tom, because Vlad's already had a couple of judges at him. So, it's bad, isn't it? I love that guy. I want me a Zimmer frame. Anyway, coming up first, Amy, who would you put on the Desert Island Dick?
I think mine would be Jeremy Paxman, which I think is controversial because I know some people think he's got an arsehole-ish charm. But I don't know. There's something about he looks like your sensible brother, Vlad.
Contradiction in terms, but on you go.
There's just something about it. I think what it is that bugs me is that he's like a cartoon of a clever person, but he's so aware of it. He's sort of stepped into self-parody mode. Like he's the sort of person that would laugh too loud in a Shakespeare play to just tell everyone he got it, you know? Yeah. That kind of energy that I can't stand. And whenever you watch him on like University Challenge or whatever, he's got this tone that he does where he'll ask the most complicated question in the world. They'll get it wrong reasonably. And he'll go, oh, no, it's tracheic tetrameter, isn't it? And you know, he's just like, oh, you're the worst, actually. But also, he does loads of like performative activism, apparently for like homelessness and like making sure people are employed above the like something wage or something, whatever it was. And then he found some Romanian people that he could legally employ under £4.50 to come and work in his mansion. And I was like, oh yeah, you suck. And I was like, I'm aware I could have put like Lawrence Fox on the island or, you know, someone else predictable. But I think there's something insidiously icky about him. So I'm gonna go with Paxman. I'm sorry.
I love that answer. If for no other reason, I think it was very, very succinct, very to the point. But I love the fact that you just let slip that you watch University Challenge, whereas I'm more of a naked attraction sort of guy. Shows the difference, doesn't it? You know.
Hey, it's been a long lockdown for me. You've got to explore these avenues. But yeah, no. And also, if you've got any time, watch his. He did an interview with Bowie, right? And he just looks very pleased with himself all the time. His opening question was, well, not even question, statement was, I've actually noticed that you've tried to reinvent yourself a few times, as if that was news, as if he was the first person to spot that Bowie had had a couple of haircuts, you know. I was like, I have no patience for him at all.
Amazing. Well, that was going to be my question to Ben, but I think we're going to have to stick to this then, Ben. The question is going to be, who would you strand on a desert island full of dicks?
Well, Jeff Bezos. And can I just say, I made this decision before he stepped down this week. Yeah. So coincidence? I don't fucking think so. I would put Bezos. Bezos, look at this, right? I'm going to stand on my daughter's chair, right? Bezos has made me fat. Look at that. Look, right? Yeah, that is Bezos's fault. That's not a beer belly. That's a Bezos belly. 10 years ago, if I wanted a beer, right, I would, like, Friday morning, 10 a.m., I might have a beer tonight. I'd have to go and check in the fridge. And if there wasn't any there, I'd have to go out and buy them. Now, I don't even bother checking in the fridge. So I was so pissed the night before, I just, on my phone, and it'll just turn up. It's Bezos' fault for being so convenient. It is. It's like, I saw, this is all true. I saw on Amazon, right, a review once for a silk negligee that this bloke had put on. 1 star, he put. 1 star, Barry from Wolverhampton. I bought this for my wife's 50th birthday, and when she tried it on, it didn't look anything like it did in the picture. That's awful. You can't. I mean, we all know that's because his wife's 18 stone with only 3 of her original teeth. But it's just how that, you know.
I love that, and I love the energy. I once saw, this is genuinely true, and I'm sure loads of people saw it as well. There was an Amazon review for a blow-up sex doll, and it got 5 stars, and the review simply said, simply read, "She went down on me on the first go," which is an inflatable sex doll, which I just thought was absolutely sublime. Right, it's too early for that. What filth is this? Right, we're going to move on to, it is in no way a cheat from a very popular Channel 4 show that I'm going to get sacked from. It's Mask Tasker! There it is. Every week what we ask our wonderful guests and my 2 co-hosts to do is to increasingly inventively use their masks to do a challenge. I will judge who gets the points, and we all win a yacht in the Med. So this week's Mask Tasker challenge is to pop your mask over your eyes, and using your mask as a blindfold, I am going to ask you to make a cup of tea. I expect 3rd-degree burns, I expect pain, and I want a hell of a lot of pity from our guests. Make a cup of tea, putting the mask over your eyes, Ben. I can see that.
I'm just getting the ironing board ready, which is what it's
You're
on.
the worst person at deception since Matt Hancock tried to cry on national TV. Right, your time starts now. Making a cup of tea. Ben, I can see, has gone for a Duplo toy set. That's obviously good for the Early Learning Centre. Vlad is doing very well there, while also shamelessly plugging another comedy club in Scotland. Therein goes the spoon. We can't see what Jay is doing, but it looks like it's definitely something that should not be broadcast over the internet, because the last time he did that online, it made him end up on a register. And let's check in on Amy. I think that's cold water. I mean,
it was boiling when I started the Zoom, and now it's warm, maybe tepid.
Okay, so tepid tea from Amy, plasticine from Ben, and
I'm trying to find Vlad. I can't smell it because the fucking mask is over my nose. I can't.
I'm going to give you 5 seconds left. I think Jay is done. I think Jay's just sent his wife or his kids to get the tea. 2, 1. That's it. Thank you very much for the countdown there, Jay. So time for the masks off.
Right.
Vlad, did I hear a whelp of panic or pain from you?
I poured boiling water somewhere, but there's nothing in my cup.
No.
Brilliant.
And I'm very aware that that is the kettle that we kind of got rid of in the kitchen because it wasn't really working very well. And I've got it plugged into an extension cable. And so I didn't know where it was pouring that water. I'm only hoping I just didn't hit the kettle far enough.
That's like,
fire, put it that way.
That's like the start of every episode of Casualty ever. They get like 6 extension sockets and then go, let's have a water fight. I want to check in on Ben. What is this that you were using, Ben?
Well, I don't drink normal tea. I only drink herbal tea when I'm not drinking beer. So I've got this nice pucker tea set, and I was looking for cinnamon and cardamom, and I got elderflower and echinacea. So I didn't even get the right one. So I didn't get through. I'm quite middle class, as you can probably tell. So I didn't get through to the water, but I'm looking forward to this when I have to give up alcohol because it's gone too far.
So you selected a tea.
I did, but it was the wrong one. What I've realised is they all fucking smell the same. I think someone swept the floor and just put them in tea bags. And it's delicious, this one. Yeah, you just swept a bus and fucking shoved it in the tea bag. That's what I think.
I thought echinacea was a type of dermatology disease that you could get rid of with a couple of antibiotics. Let's quickly go over to
probably
Jay.
had it, mate,
Jay seemingly did nothing there. You just sat and played with your 2 Sodagars from the look of it. What were you doing?
I made a cup of tea. Thank you. Very,
very inventive. The only way that I think Amy can beat that is if Amy has Mr. T in her room. Is that what the door is for?
Well, no, I don't have Mr. T, but I did miss the tea in that. I don't know if you can see. There's a lot.
Any excuse.
There's a lot going on down here, and I've made the most piss weak cup of tea you've ever seen in your life. I can't even angle it properly. No, I'm going to pour that over.
Thursday show coming to you, sponsored by Tenor Lady. So wonderful.
Have you pissed yourself, Amy? No, I blindfolded myself with a mask and made a cup of tea on a Zoom call. Fuck off. That's just a bad excuse.
I am very impressed by Jay's lateral thinking. I am hugely impressed by Amy's commitment. I love Ben's tea selection, but I think just for sheer jeopardy, Mr. McTavish has to win that one, because when the house does burn down, he needs something to look back on with happiness.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that brings us to the end of the Thursday show. Thank you so much for watching once again. Thank you to Judith. Thank you to Kirsty. Thank you to JC Spades, Gary, Baldy, Kara, Nicole, Nicola, all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the part of the show where we hand over to the guests to give our final plug. So, Amy, is there anything that people should watch of yours if they are interested?
You can find most of it on my website, but I've released a comedy adult zine, like a sort of comic strip book that is, well and truly for adults. So you can find that on my website. Also, I'm in the latest series of Scott Squad. You can get that on BBC iPlayer. It's a really, really great, funny series made up here in Scotland, and it's you can get it from wherever in the UK. So yes, it is a great show, Gary. I pop up in that. I look quite different. I've got long blonde hair. I look like Legolas, but it's definitely me, I promise. But apart from that, just keep it. Everything will be on my social media or website. So that's great.
Brilliant. AmyMatthews.com. Go check it out. Ben, what have people got to look forward for you?
Well, I'm going to be putting the bins out on Tuesday. It's recycling this week. They can come along and see that. I think it's recycling. It might be wrong. I don't fucking know. Well, you go to my website, benharringtoncomedy.com. I've got some little snippets on there of me doing comedy. I'll put some more in. And I'm also going to list the gigs both online and I have a live gig penciled in for May. Yeah? Come along.
Is that the recycling?
Yeah. I'm going to play a tune of bottles I've been drinking from. like a panpipe ode to alcoholism. I'm going to be doing that.
Ben coming to a bin near you. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on. Thank you so much for joining us. A huge thank you goes to Amy Matthews, Ben Harrington. As ever, thank you very much to Jay Sodagar, Vladimir McTavish. I've been Dave Chawner, but the biggest thank you goes to you. Thank you for watching. Please donate, and we'll see you same time next week. Thursday, 8 p.m. Have a good week and goodbye.